Okay, hello, Dancing with the Stars. You know the show. I've had to put up with it now for, I don't know how long. My wife's had it on every week, watching it. So it's been on in the background while I've been sat, faffing around on the computer. And so there's been a few things with this show already this year. We had the gal from Parent Trap on the show. Let me see if I can. Let's go back here a second. Elaine Hendricks. So she was on the show. She hurt her foot. We had an ambulance on there with the 816 Madonna numbers. Okay. And if you don't know, but the Parent Trap has a ton of 9/11 references. 9/11 references in it. Okay. 88 Finiston Porous has got a good decode on this. Okay. So if you want to see some of the 9/11 references in here, just one other thing to notice. The female character, not Elaine's character, but the other female character in this, that is, I believe, Natasha Richardson. Okay. In this film, she looks a lot like, she does have that Princess Diana look about her. Okay. This is important with where we're going with this video in just a second. Okay. And the white wedding stuff. Okay. But anyway, so we've already had. There's been several little bits and pieces in there. I did break down and do a video on, on her on that particular episode, or I added it into one of my videos. I can't remember, but definitely a super loaded show. Now, tonight was the finale. Okay, 11:25. Okay, November the 25th was the finale. Okay, for this season's Dancing with the Stars. Just before the end of the show, and I think it was because they just keep, every show they've mentioned Len Goodman, because of course Len was one of the judges until he passed away. April the 22nd, 2023, passed away. So of course they've replaced him now with Derek Huff. Okay, if you follow the show. Anyway, we're going to do some interesting number jumps, but before the end of the show tonight, I had just, while she's got this on, while my wife's got this on, I'm like, I'll just look up Len and just look up his, because they've kept going on about him and on about him, and I thought, you know what, we'll have a look at this. So this is actually Len Goodman's birthday through to the finale of Dancing with the Stars this year. 29800. When I saw this, I was like, "Blurman, how? I cannot believe that." 29800. Where have we seen it? We've had this number popping up several times for, for, let me show you. We'll jump back. For Charlie Kirk, we had Charlie Kirk's, we had 9/11. Now this is going to be important because this all ties back in with 9/11. We've already mentioned the Parent Trap there with all the 9/11, that's got tons of 9/11 stuff in it. But this is all tying back to 9/11. So 9/11 through to back to Charlie Kirk's birthday, 2889, right? We had this same number with Len Goodman showing up with Donald Trump through to 7/29 this year. Okay, this is the white wedding date, by the way. This is exactly this year. This is important because 44 is just super important with the white wedding. Okay, it's a super important balance number. So this is 44 years right here after Charles and Diana's white wedding on 7/29. Okay, so this is 44 years later. Donald Trump's birthday through to this year. Okay, we see that same number with Len Goodman. Okay, the 289 as well with Charlie Kirk. Now what is interesting is, go another 44 days on and you're going to get to Charlie Kirk's death. Okay, now Charlie Kirk on this particular day was 11611 days old. Okay, so he had that palindromic 611 number. Okay, the Jurassic Liars 611 number. Okay, so all these, the way all this ties together is extremely interesting. Don't forget, Diana's born 61 in 61. Here is the actual, that is the actual number jump there, 44 years, 44 days on from the White Wedding through to Charlie Kirk's death. Okay, so this 44 is super duper interesting. In fact, I'll just take you to one of my charts very quickly, just so we can like show you why that's so interesting. Just concentrate on everything between that line and that line that I've just put on here. Okay, so these numbers that are in here now, these are all cycles. This is the Fibonacci cycle, this is the Lucas cycle, and this is what I call the pi cycle. Okay, so these are all these are cycles that are derived from transcendental numbers or sequences. Okay, very similar to, well, one is Fibonacci and then Lucas, it just starts on it. So Fibonacci, we're starting, it doesn't technically start on a 0, technically start on a 1, it's technically a 0, but Fibonacci basically starts on 1, Lucas starts on 2, and pi starts on 3. And that's the only 3 cycles there are, okay? Because the rest of these running down through here are actually this, you know, this is Fibonacci again, just started in a different position of the cycle. Okay, this one is pi, just started in a different position of the cycle, so forth and so on. And in fact, I've got them listed over here so you can see down this end in the grey. Anyway, to cut a long story short, the center of this table, notice what's at the top of the center of the table, 9889. Okay, what is at the center of the table? 44. Okay, and on the opposite sides of the 44 is 55. Okay, so balancing 44 is 55 in the pi sequence here. Okay, anyway, we will see some references to pi here in just a second, but it's worth just mentioning that the center of this table is the number 44. Okay, it's super duper important, you know, and you see a lot of the feminine numbers running down through here. 17, Diana's birthday, the Queen's death date, 98. Okay, 26, Madonna's gematria numbers. Okay, and then of course, in fact, this number here actually shows up with one of those number jumps coming up. Actually, I don't think, I might not have it in, but yeah, 753, or I think it might be 735 or something like that anyway. But that number is also in one of these number jumps. I don't know if it's in here though, or whether I deleted it. Anyway, it's important just to note this, you know, the importance of the number 44. And also, while we're on the subject of why is 7, so why is 729 so important, and also we've got 1129 coming up the day before the 30th. This is another chart. This is actually the sequences here for, well, that's the number line, Fibonacci, Lucas, and pi, and then I got another line in here which I call phi. Obviously, that's doesn't matter right now, but the fact of the matter is, in this table, the center of the table is right here. Okay, and that point there, or between these two towers, there is another tower that balances these two towers, and it's in fact this one here. So these numbers down through here are actually the balance numbers for in between these two towers, because this is just, these numbers are just added on, so added together. So 11 plus 18 is 29. 5 plus 8 is 13. So these are just these two numbers combined. This forms tower 7 between the twin towers here. And so 729, as you can see, tower 7 is all to do with the white wedding. Okay, because 29 is the perfect combination of 11 and 18. Yeah, 11 reduced 2, 18 reduced 9, add the two together, 11 and 18 added together equals 29. Okay, but the point I'm trying to make is, so 729, or just the number 29, is a perfect reference to the marriage of these two towers, the metaphysical and the physical. Okay, 7 is the reference to that 29, or you could even say 27 or 72 is the reference to that 29 there. Okay, so again, that's interesting. With we're going to see some 722 references. Okay, which is again a pi reference, but also can be a reference to this this wedding as well. Okay, getting a bit whiffly waffly here, Dan, but let's get on to the really interesting stuff, so is these finalists and who won the show and everything else. Okay, so let's go back to this, but it's important to just know that, why 7, 29 and 44, you're seeing this as a middle number now, a balancing number, and this is a balancing number. You see, this is a blooming super duper important date for Charlie Kirk when you take that into account. Okay, so we've mentioned this with Donald Trump with that date, and then why that 729 through to there is so important, and of course that's something completely different we'll get onto in just a minute, and so is that. And in fact, I don't want to go any further with that because it's going to overcomplicate stuff right now. But let's go backwards now. This is 9/11. So we were looking at the Twin Towers there through to Charlie Kirk's birth, 2889. Okay, and I think that'll do for right now. Okay, so as I said, I looked at this Len Goodman birthday and said to my wife, this has got to be all about Len Goodman, and this is super duper important, connecting back with the white wedding, Charles and Diana, yada yada yada. That's why it's got to be why they've picked that particular date for this final. Anyway, they were announcing the finalists, right? And so Elaine was one of those finalists. Okay, I can't remember what the other girl was. What was the other girl? Jordan somebody. She was some kind of gymnast. And then, anyway, the other two that were in the final was Robert Irwin, son of Steve Irwin, okay, and Alex Earl. Don't know who the hell she is. Okay, but I did think when I seen the birthdays, I'm like, oh yeah, this is pretty interesting. Of course, because this is the day after the 30th, the Great Scott, which we'll be looking at here in just a second again. Billy Idol's birthday. Billy Idol will be 70, coming up on the 30th of November, the Great Scott, at St Andrew's Day. So the connection back with Back to the Future, and the 1st of December, obviously the day after that, after the 30th. Very, very interesting indeed. What was I going to say else about? You can also get, so the number 7 with the 29, super duper important. But you can also get, if you add the day in, it's going to give you the 7-1 numerology as well. 70 years and 1 day for Billy Idol. So, and of course, the play on words with Billy Idol is the dollar bill, the I dollar bill. The $1 bill is the I dollar bill, the Billy Idol. The bill of. Did you get it? Okay. Anyway, all of our damn references are on the dollar bill. Yada yada yada. Okay. And so, of course, you can get a 30th of November off the dollar bill. I've got that in a back catalogue somewhere as well. I'm pretty sure you can get a 30th of November. It's to do with. I'm trying to think. It's to do with. Actually, it's to do with the Greek letter lambda. If you go back to the back catalogue, I've got a decode on it. Somewhere in there. You basically do a fold, and it gives you the letter, the Greek letter lambda, and if you do the numerology on that, you can get 1130 out of it. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It's been so long since I've done that decode. Anyway, so that is in the dollar bill as well. The 30th of November is in the dollar bill. Anyway, to cut a long story short, it got down to Robert and Alex as the two. It was between these two who was going to win. They put a commercial break on. I said I should have run I said to my wife, I should have run the numbers on these two to see which one was going to win. We were thinking that Robert would win just because he's been pretty good in his dancing. Okay, but she's pretty darn good as well, and so on the night it was pretty much a toss-up. But I said I should have done the numbers. I said what he's got going for him at the minute though is they did have Prince William come on and give him an encouragement note a couple of weeks ago, which I thought was a bit, well, that's pretty interesting. They got Prince William on, and obviously Prince William also has the 429 birthday, so they keep the 29 going for the White Wedding with Prince William. Anyway, so I ran the numbers in the commercial break, and I'm like, the first one comes up is hers. This is her birthday. Alex is through to the finale. Just can't write it. 9110. I'm like, oh dear. Oh, I'm thinking to my wife. I said, I don't know. I don't know what, When I saw that, I'm like, oh, I don't know now. This is crazy. She's got the 911 in there. This could be a 911 ritual. And then I put his birthday in. Okay, this is Irwin's birthday. 8031. Yeah. Diana's death, the 31st of August. So he has the numerology for Diana's death in his number jump from his birthday through. And I'm like, wow, this is really interesting with the idea of the corrupted feminine has to die. The corrupted feminine, right? The corrupted feminine, 9/11. This birth of the Matrix, or the birth into the Matrix. Okay, so the finale is the death of the feminine here, and then the rebirth or the crowning of a new prince or a new king in the shape of this dude. Okay, so to win the show, it would make him the king, and he, of course, he won the show. Okay, so he won. Okay, so absolutely fascinating numbers popping out here. So anyway, I said to myself, there's got to be a few more connections. So we've got his mother, Terry Irwin. Let's just look at her. I wonder if this is her right now. I've already shown it. It's down this end somewhere. Here it is. Let's have a look at her birthday, the 20th of July, 64. 20th of July, 64. 22289. Ah, dear, oh dear. That's pretty good with that numerology sitting there. 289 there. So we got her kind of tying in. I know that's around the wrong way, and we got extra 2s in there and everything. It's very, very close though. You know, I mean, I thought that was good enough to put in the video. Anyway, we also have, and I might have Steve Irwin up here somewhere. Oh, that reminds me of something I've got to do here as well. Hang on a minute. Well, let's just go to. He'll have Steve will be on here. Let's Steve. Okay, and now don't forget, and it's interesting about Steve is R.I.P. died from the stingray thing to the heart. Okay, whatever happened there. Okay, 20. Now look at this. 22nd of February 62. Let's do a number jump for him, and let's look at his death date as well. 9/4/2006. Aged 44. Pretty interesting as well. But let's do some number jumps for him, and we also need to. I've got Len in here again, I think as well. Maybe, I'm not sure. So this is his death. Back to Diana's death. Okay, and you'll notice that he dies on 9/4, and it's 9 years and 4 days back to her death, or he dies 9 years 4 days after her death. Okay, so that already is interesting because of course the 9/4, and in fact one of the other finalists, she actually did a Beyonce song, which I thought was interesting because of course Beyonce's got the 9/4 birthday, if I'm not mistaken. So that's also pretty interesting. And there obviously Beyonce's got the the Queen reference as well. Oh dear. What have we got here? What was this one? I can't remember why I've got this one in here. This is, I don't even know what the hell that is. Was that his birthday? Through to Charlie Kirk's. Where's old Steve gone? I'm forgetting already. Yeah, 22262. 22262. I don't know why I've got that in here. Maybe it was something interesting on that. No, it wasn't anything. This is just a leftover remnant of junk. Nothing that interesting there. Let's move on. Here we go. His death through to the show finale tonight. 7022 days. Okay, so there is a little bit of a pi reference. And remember, I was saying that the 2 and the 7 reference is a 20. It cross references back to 29. Okay. Now, what was interesting was, so we've got this 722 here, the numerology 722 here. This is his birthday through to Diana's birthday. This is Steve Irwin through to Diana's birthday. 7 months, 22 days. So there's some little synchronicities here creeping in. And just out of interest, I know it's a bit of a stretch, I haven't actually looked into it, but if you recall the film Wonder Woman, the recent one, they did, I think they did one anyway, and then they did a sequel, which is the Wonder Woman 8, the 84 one, and Chris Pine is the dude in it, okay, and Chris Pine also played James T. Kirk, and so in Wonder Woman, Chris Pine is Steve, and of course Wonder Woman is Diana, okay, so just a bit of a random connection between Kirk and Steve and Diana, but this is kind of marginally interesting, I think, you know. So there's that. We've done that. We did her sort of random Terry with the random 2-8. It would have been better if it had been 22298, but whatever. Anyway, so after I got done doing this, I'm thinking, well, that's all interesting stuff. I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to have a look at Derek Huff, because he's the dude that's taken over from Len. And obviously, this is obviously, about, you know, the death of one individual for the resurrection of another individual. Okay, this is the idea, and so they resurrected Len with. I've probably got him in here somewhere, and I don't have him in here. I would have thought I could have. Well, anyway, let me show you this. So anyway, I've got Derek Huff's and actually I've got another number jump in here as well, which I don't know what I've done with it now, but hang on a minute. Oh, I've got to show you that one as well. Hang on. Oh, before I move on, actually, one important thing was, of course, this dude, they kept going on about him having a rib injury, with his last training up to this last performance, or the last, this particular, the finale. He kept going on about this rib injury, and I think to myself, oh, yeah, the rib injury, yeah, the rib injury, okay, before he's crowned, okay, or if you like, resurrected as king, the rib injury here, okay, with the Holy Lance, and also to recreate to create the feminine, the rib injury, the taking of the rib bone to create Eve, okay. So definitely the rib reference to the, the resurrection or the resetting of, the physical and the metaphysical, so to speak, okay. So that was super duper important. They kept going on about that. Anyway, let me show you this connection with Mr. Huff. So this is Derek Huff's, this is the guy that's taken over from Len. He was a dancer on the show at some point. 5/17/85. And I've got a number jump through here to the 30th. Again, let me just show you something with, this is Len Goodman's death through to the 30th was the 2s. 2 years, 222 days, right? So all the 2s, right? And of course, why was I thinking that was interesting with all the 2s? Because of, where is he? Oh, I got rid of him, didn't I? Because of Steve's birthday, yeah, 222, yeah, and of course Washington's birthday in the new calendar, 222, 22nd of February, okay. So this is extremely important with the dollar bill as well, the 222. And of course, if I were to show you this, let me just show you this a second. 222 is a super duper important number as well. Okay. As you look down here, if you look, the total for these two towers is 55 and 88. And when you add 55 and 88, it's going to bring you to 143. Now, the connection here is 143 and 222 combine to equal your full cycle, 365 days, okay. So this is what, this is why 222 is pretty interesting as well, okay. Not to mention it's a total down here, which also, yeah, for what, just is interesting. So anyway, the 222's there. Where was I getting to? So this whole thing with Len's death through to the 30th with 222, I happen to notice was interesting. I just ran some numbers out for the 30th because It's the next big day. Obviously, it's after 11:29, so we would really be looking at 11:29 to 11:30. Would be pretty interesting. We've got Robert's birthday the next day after this day, so it's all interesting stuff. But anyway, it was 14808, and so I just ran 911 through, okay, to the 25th to this finale, and it's 8841. So you've got reverse. So for Derek Huff, we've got this reverse set of numbers here. Now remember, 814. To cut a long story short on this 814, right, is if you go back, when we look at these numbers, there's two different ways of reducing these numbers, right? So you can reduce this down to a 2, you can reduce this to a 9. What that gives you is it gives you an opportunity to have numbers that are 218 related numbers. Sound familiar with the birth of Pluto, 218, and 11-9 numbers, 9-11 numbers. Yeah, and this whole relationship with Pluto and 9-11. Now, without going through the decode, this whole cycle with Lucas numbers is heavily to do with the planet Pluto. Okay, I've done a couple of decodes on it now. You'll have to look in the back catalogue for it, or if you want to know, I could maybe point you in the right direction if you leave a comment. But regardless to say, if you call this point 911 right here, okay, so if this is 911, right, the birth, what you'll find is that up to this point, right, these numbers right here, right, sum to 28. And so if you go 28 days back from 9/11, it's going to take you to 8/14. Now it's special because there's other numbers in here that add up to these same digits, okay? And 148 is also to do with Pluto, okay? It's the difference in cycles, okay, with Pluto is between Pluto and Earth is 1.48 days, if I'm getting my stuff right, okay? So it's extremely important to do with Pluto and its relationship with Earth, yada yada yada. Anyway, 8/14, okay? A super duper important date. 28 days earlier, yeah, or 28 days later is 9/11, okay? So you think about that film, well, all the films 28 days later. Possible references here. Okay, what was I saying? Okay, so that numerology is super duper important, and it just super duper fascinating that Derek Huff, that's taken over from Len Goodman, if you go from 9/11 to the finale, we've got the 8841, and you go the other way, you go from his birthday through to the 30th of November. Now this is the date that we're, this could be encoding this date is what I'm saying here. Okay, 14808. Okay, it is a very, very important date. I had something else here. Let me show you something else as well. What was this for? This is the first episode, or the first airing of Dancing with the Stars, I think maybe in America. The 1st of June 2005, and I just put in 8/16 the year before, so this would have been Madonna's 46th birthday. Notice how many days it is from 8/16 through to 6/1, 289 days. Again, I thought that was worth mentioning with this connection back with the mother here. The 289 stuff here, the 289 with Charlie Kirk. Well, that was the right way around. What was it for her? Maybe it was. Maybe I was right. That was 289. 289. I guess I was going crazy earlier on, saying it was the other way around. But anyway, don't matter. 289, right? With Steve Irwin's wife or Robert's mother. Okay, 289. So there's just, there's always a little connection back with Madonna. You can always find some sort of connection back with Madonna. It's pretty easy to find connections with Madonna. Okay, but I did want to reference that just while we were on the topic. Okay, anything else to mention? What was this one? Lens. Oh yeah, this was the same. This is the 2 years 200. It's 953 days, which is 162 prime. I don't really have any connections to that, to be quite honest. Obviously, Steve is 1962. I feel like there was. I don't think there was anything in that one, with that number. Right, I'm leaving it there. Okay. I guess we could actually just check what 162 is, just out of interest. Composite 209. Yeah, there we go. Now, I'll tell you what, you pretty much guaranteed to find some form of an interest in. I always call it a reduction, but a linkage back down to something else interesting from that. That is, again, we've got back to the 29, back to the wedding number with that. Okay, that's it. Man, that is it's absolutely just crazy. Her birthday. I mean, this must be, come on. They must be, gosh, I just don't know. This, just absolutely crazy that this kind of stuff can even possibly happen. Somebody's got to be, I mean, the level of planning that you would need for this. I mean, you might argue, well, you could do it, Dan. Yeah, you could. Could you? Can you really? I mean, I don't know. I'll tell you another thing as well. If you've ever watched Dancing with the Stars before, I have to say the level of dancing this year, it's almost like they've had more dancing training or something, because they were actually very, very good. All of the finalists were really good. Of course, I can't really, yeah, because I don't really watch it. I can't really say, well, it's that much better than it was. They made it a very good finale. Let's put it that way. Anyway, enough wiffly waffle. I'm just checking to make sure I haven't missed anything out of here. We did the Lance, we did all that stuff. We've got her with the 9/11 references. I probably could have looked up the gal that was the gymnastic. Jordan, pretty interesting name as well, but I can't remember the other guy as well. There was another guy in it. I can't remember what his name was. Oh well. No, that's for another day, and that's for another day, and that's for another day. I might do that in a minute. Good old Len, the good man. All about the good man. Okay, a Leo as well. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, calling it quits. Oh, born 44 as well. Don't forget that. Okay, calling it quits now. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll catch you on another one soon. Right, cheers. Good night. Bye.